At any point, just let me know.
Will do. I'm paying out at 1.5.
Copy that. Good delta 20, looking good. Altitude 25 meters.
Tether looks good.
Copy that. Delta 20, 21, looking good. Altitude 17 meters. Starting to see bottom. 8 meters up, almost there. See fish. All right, I'll start getting into my Z-bias ready.
Copy. And
Oh wow, and we already have some
I'm holding
fish
off
on
right
site.
here.
We're now
Sounds good.
nearing bottom.
So the tether's a little bit
So you're saying the
high.
fish came just because
Yeah.
we were here?
All right, that's
Yep.
getting better now.
Yeah, I was curious. Good morning, fish.
Okay,
Good morning,
I'll
folks.
start getting ready for the white balance.
Understood.
Sorry.
And I'll also pull in the drawer now that we're on bottom.
Yeah.
Understood. All right, watch leads. We just got to bottom. We're going to start getting our lights ready and do a quick white balance, and then we'll be ready to start the dive.
Thanks so much. Could you also pop a water bottle for us when you have a chance?
Sure, we can do Niskin. Let's see. Anna's ready. Nav, you're ready. So then, yeah, Copilot, whenever you're ready.
Copy.
All right. So for those of us who are just joining us this morning,
Okay,
We
all
are
stations firing Niskin
diving
in 3,
east
2,
in the
1.
Formigas Rift. We are at
All right,
the
Niskin
eastern
fire.
edge of the
Good fire.
Tercera Rift, and it's sort of the northern part of the Azores diffuse plate boundary. We are in the middle of a series of fault scarps. We're going to be ascending a fault scarp today, and hopefully
Mind
we'll
if
have
I
a chance
take
to
your
see not
rotator
only
for
very
a little
exciting
bit?
geology,
Yes,
but
go for
also
it.
a little bit of biology as well.
Oh.
Joanna, what might we see?
Well, this area in specific, to our knowledge, hasn't been explored yet. But the Formigas Bank, which is just a few miles to the southeast here, has actually been
I'm doing
explored
Z-bias right
previously
now.
by some
Okay,
colleagues,
alright.
both from the Spanish Oceanographic Institute and from the Azores University. And they did find very dense, vulnerable marine ecosystems in the area, with both glass sponges, demo sponges, number of scleractinian corals, but also black corals and alcyonasians. So I think this will be a very good comparative site, and see if we find similar communities here. Oh, and actually we have here again the fish that visited us on our way down. It's very difficult. It's standing on a very funny, very up straight position in the water column.
make sure Roland
Yep.
knows that we have that ability
Look like glass
to
sponges.
either brighten it up
they
or
do.
not.
Chat may be able to better identify them than myself and Deb.
Okay. He seemed to like the extra light in this terrain right now, so I'll leave it at 100 on mains, uppers, and lowers.
And so we're coming up on
Yeah, I'll
the
keep
boulder.
the aft bar and aft
is
poles down.
Probably, those are
78%.
probably some encrusting sponges,
So
is
it's
my
gone
guess.
up 2C so
Um,
far.
Want to do a partial?
LED bottle.
Video, what are
And
we
it's
looking for?
interesting,
I
Can
was
you do
just
a
thinking-
snap zoom on the left top of this rock?
Let me come up a little bit.
Top left coming up with you.
Or just the rock itself, whatever you like.
Go ahead, Birch.
Did you hear science?
Yeah, let me back off a little
Okay.
bit. Okay,
I'm trying to
Roland,
figure out what these rocks are made of.
you want to go in a little with me? I'm going to bring fog up just a little.
Bring it up to 50%.
Yeah, that's about where we were at.
It's a partial.
Oh, this is interesting. So that looks like where the lasers are, just above that is probably a sponge. Is that just me, or does that look like a block of basalt that's sort of coated in a conglomeration
Are you
of
stable
stuff?
for tight?
Yeah, it's a very,
partial
very
stable,
angular
yep.
piece sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
Are we
I
looking
think
at the
it's
conglomeration stuff?
A combination like the
rest of
line
it is
separating them.
piled
Okay.
up
You
on
think
it.
it's just piled up on it, or do you think
Yeah.
that it's sort of all
Big
stuck
fish
together?
right on
I
your
think
back.
somewhere inside all of the organisms that are sitting here, you would have more sharp-edged salt like this.
I don't know. Look right behind it, though, because it does look like there's some structure behind that. Ooh, what's that tiny pink thing? Oh, is that a tiny little sea star? I don't know if that's the right word for it.
There's a pair of them. Looks
Look
like.
at the
Yeah.
white spot left.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
Okay, back right on time.
yeah, you're looking at biology.
Lots of here now, lots of encrusting sponges. And we hadn't seen before
bring the
any
lights
of
down to
this actually with this
30%.
bright red
Understood,
color.
coming down to 30.
At least not in the previous dive. So these are within the family Imedesmida again.
Yeah, these look like
Oh,
your
now
blue
we're
sponges,
looking-
but red.
Maximum.
Exactly. Yeah, they are within the same group.
And then when we're
and
done
what
looking,
is it that we're looking
Oh, I don't
at
know.
now? Actually, they do.
Lost
There
my
were a
nice
number
stable
of
toe.
those there.
yeah. So this is a
Partial.
breccia. I wasn't insane. This is actually it's that angular class, that big piece of rock, is
Tell me
set
when we have to
within
go, Chris.
basically
Yeah, you're good.
a-
We're looking
a
at your 4-5.
conglomerate of
Okay.
other
Are we stable
rocks.
on ship, or should we dial in another?
So you can tell that you're looking at
Sorry,
a
I can't
mix
hear you. Are you
of,
muted?
of rocks.
Let me crank you up.
And so that's,
right there.
You
Can
know,
you hear me?
what
Yeah,
I
I can
expect
hear
to
you.
see. And
Okay.
look at that.
Ship
That's
stopped
cool.
like about a
here
minute
we have
ago.
a beautiful garden here.
Maybe we should look at the top of this
The
for a
last
minute, and then we
move
should
was
move
30
on.
meters,
Let's tilt up, looking at
and
the
it's very
darkness.
interesting to
Zero.
see how you see all of these
Coral.
Been
sponges
moving.
and
They really
encrusting
wanna make
sponges on
ground.
this side of
So
the
unless
wall,
we're
and
hearing
then as
calls
soon
for
as we get to
samples,
the
let's just
top,
keep
they
it going.
become really dominated
Alright.
by the corals and hydrozoans. There's a
another
number of
30-meter move.
Yeah.
Same direction.
070.
large
Copy.
hydrozoans.
They say they
also.
wanted to
What's
look
that
at the
pink coral?
top.
Yeah.
King coral.
Is it a coral? Maybe it's not a coral. The pink thing in the middle?
Oh yeah, it is the Hemicorallium that we've just seen earlier on.
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take tight on the pink.
So this would be Hemicorallium tricolor.
I'm going to tilt up slightly.
Yeah.
And lots of these very
you just
large
want to pan
hydrozoans
across
here
this field to
on
make
the
a
right
good
as well.
shot.
I can't hear you very well,
This
Roland. Hang
golden-
on. Are you whispering or?
Nope, I got it right against my mouth.
Okay, I
Our
cranked.
Talking
fluorescent
average.
ones.
I gained you up. What was your ask?
I was just asking to sort of scoot sideways, just sort of pan across this. Would make a good shot, show a bunch of stuff.
Okay. I've got a stable toe hold at the moment. I'm going to just back off and slide along.
And this
then-
reminds a bit more, actually, some of the dives that were done in the previous expedition. Ooh, there goes nice little eelfish. I think it was the dive done at Zenith or the Kurchatov
Now just go ahead and
seamounts
rise
that
up and I'll
was
zoom
actually
out and
similar to
continue
this.
on.
There's a big white coral there, bottom right.
Yep.
Oh, and here we come on the bottom right, we see again one of those hydrocorals that we've seen yesterday, possibly in the genus Cryptelia.
Ooh.
Oh, and a nice
Full light.
large sea urchin as well. With very long and thick spines there. So really interesting actually to see the zonation here on this large block. So you can see on the lower left and on the overhang of the rock a lot of encrusting sponges mostly. And as soon as you move up to the area that is most exposed then to the current, you see
Point a little right.
a lot of the
Sure.
corals
Coming
and
over, keep you
hydrozoans
center.
and some flavolate sponges. So we also have there a large
Watch tail there.
whip-like coral.
Yeah, be careful
I
with
don't
that
think we've
lower
seen
swing
that
arm.
yesterday.
The starboard lower swing arm. If you rotate to
Okay.
starboard, you
I'm
might
going to
get it.
come up
Really
and
dense,
straight here
This
momentarily.
area.
Okay, rolling.
And these Cedarid urchins, we see
Yep,
now a
I'm
number of them
painting
also
as you go.
on the farther right of the screen.
Push forward and spin right and move on.
Yeah, ship's on the move.
Oh, and you see there at the left also a glass sponge of Aeronema that we've seen also in the previous expedition. That's called the bird's nest sponge. And that's because it does look very much like a bird's nest, only that in this case it is made of biosilica.
Joanna,
Yes?
what is biosilica?
So that is the component that sponge skeletons have. So it's a type of glass, only that sponges can actually produce this with great efficiency in cold temperature, at room or cold temperatures, and under regular pressures. Whereas for us to do it industrially, we actually have to use very high pressures and very high temperatures. So it's really spectacular to see how sponges can actually build these very intricate skeletons of biosilica at relatively low cost for them. And so, those structures that we call spicules are really the main characters that we use for identification of the different species. So we look at the different spicules that are on the skeleton and how they are distributed throughout the skeleton. We measure those spicules, and that will allow
I
us
can
to
stow
group
those lowers a little bit, Todd, if
species
you
in
want.
Yeah, I
different-
think it's smart. We got a lot of this big bouldery
different
stuff.
groups in different
Okay.
genus,
Snap on
bring them up
genera,
here.
family.
Yeah, we'll do better than a
orders,
snap.
etc.
I've got a nice spot I can just poke down and
Okay.
get a nice zoom on him.
And some of them are just really some microns long, so it's quite spectacular to see how they can produce these by the million with such precision. And here in the center of the screen we have one of these cushion starfish.
Okay, rolling.
Not sure if this would be one of those plinthfaster that have been seen in the previous expedition, and it seems to be actually quite inflated, so it might be actually feeding on something underneath, something that would be on that coral rubble. Oh, Prisma would love this. Yeah, and we do see that there is actually quite a lot of this coral rubble of very weathered skeletons of Sclerotinian corals here. Yeah, I think this is the first cushion starfish that we see in this expedition. Lovely
the
pattern there.
Cup coral.
And we can still see a few of its
Skeleton.
tube feet as well.
Going to fill the screen.
Rock it back left a little bit.
Great image. Thank you, pilot.
You're welcome.
And video's clear.
And actually, this coral rubble seems to be composed of different types of corals. So
Okay. Looks
We're-
like I got a little
we're-
tether to push out.
Possibly
do.
this has
Looking
been
at
a
the
coral
5-5.
reef at some point in time.
All right. Co-pilot,
Or it
do you
is the
feel
coral,
good for another
Do
20
you think
meter
the coral
move?
rubble is in place,
Yeah,
or do you think
we
it's
can do
sort of
20 with- I
come
think
down
we were doing
from
30 before.
above?
Fernando.
Yeah, it is
Still
hard to
pretty
say. I'm
flat
not
out
sure how
here.
far we are now
Alright.
from
Might
the
be probably
scarp.
30.
Yeah.
Could have come from
070.
above.
Copy.
We are moving towards
Or-
this scarp.
We shall find
I
out
don't
as
know,
we
Todd,
also
you lined
move
up on
up
095.
now and
You
see
wanna
Yeah,
if
I'm
we
gonna
find
come back
actually those
left.
Clarictinian corals further up on the
070?
scarp.
Yep.
Yeah,
We're
I think
just
that's
moving
good,
through
Fernando. Thank you.
Some boulders
30
that are
meters
probably
coming
not
up.
in place.
Just watch your tail.
And yeah, certainly the I don't know what I want to call it. The stuff on the seafloor, it seems to be getting a little bit deeper.
Hmm.
For the viewers at home, if you swap over to the camera 3 or
Bottle
video
temperature
3,
36
you can
degrees.
See the blue
Yeah,
view
so that's
sonar,
let's come up
which
8C.
is,
Yeah.
one of
Since
the
we turned it on.
instruments that the ROV pilots use to navigate.
What's our
It
limit?
will
40?
Highlight all of these boulders and
Not
the
sure.
It
rubble
was
so they
like
get an idea of what
130
the field of
Fahrenheit,
view looks
so
like
that's
at a
like
distance from the ROVs.
50
while
or
they
something,
navigate.
like 40, high 40s.
45, yeah, somewhere in there.
50's pretty darn hot.
Here the rubble actually seems to be becoming a bit thicker, even this layer.
Yeah, the layer seems like
Yeah.
it's getting thicker.
Yeah, it does.
So beyond coral, what do you think might be in that layer of?
Oh,
Rubble.
I'm sure that this creates such a three-dimensional framework that I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of small crustaceans, small worms inhabiting, in those little crevices through the coral rubble. Oh, there is a very nice Pheronema carpenteri sponge there. That's a glass sponge, the bird's nest that we were talking about earlier.
And this looks like another breccia
Yeah,
because
and-
it looks like it's just sort of a series of. Well, maybe it's not a breccia. It's hard to tell what's in place and what's not in place on this rock. No, I think it is a breccia. It's like a
Good.
combination of different rocks basically stuck together. Sorry, continue on about the biology. I apologize.
No problem.
Hey, Roland, we've got a echo on the audio all of a sudden. It's really loud. So-
Here, more of this Hemicorallium that we've seen earlier. So this seems to be actually the dominant species here.
Look at this. It's weird.
And we have one in white, which I presume would be another
Are
species.
you getting that?
I'm not.
Oh, I just heard that. I think it's on.
Perhaps Manuela can
Okay,
confirm
yes.
that, whether this white Hemicorallium would be the
No, he's not.
Niova
No, he's not latched
one.
at all.
And we have a large flavolate sponge, which is likely to be in the genus Facilia. And it's interesting to see that both the sponge and the corals are
I'll
facing
keep you in center
the
here, Todd.
current. So they're all
It's turning my
directed
head.
towards the current to maximize.
I can't use the headset. It's super loud and I
Feeding.
can't clear it. It's like I'm getting OKEX on like double gain in my ear and I can't turn it off.
You were getting it from tail 2. I just cut tail 2.
You good now, Todd?
Yeah, I'm good now. Thank you.
Okay.
That was horrible.
All right, so still slowly making our way forward. There really is a lot more to see on this in terms of biology.
There is way more diverse than what we saw yesterday. And that may also be because the deeper you go, then the less food is also becomes available to the community. So most of the carbon that is it's produced at the sea surface and then sinks down, but of
Are we
course
on the
only a
move, Fernando?
portion of it will actually
Yep.
reach the seafloor, a
Just
very
started
small
that move.
portion.
3 minutes ago, should last for about
And so
6 minutes.
these
so-
rocks,
I'm just
they
getting
may
a
be
little out there,
breccias,
Todd. I
which
got you at
basically are sort
2.5.
of stuck together, different pieces of rock. They may also be some pillow fragments.
Just brought the
And
minis.
these darker ones,
blew you
they
down a
look
little.
more like
Yep.
pillow
Big
fragments,
shark
and then
upper
they may have
left
some sediment
in the
that
dark
gets stuck to them
background.
basically over time.
Oh, I think
So-
we have a shark there
I
at
don't
the
think
back.
I can get there. I'll just get
Oh
a little
yeah,
closer.
look at that.
Snap when
Maybe
you're
the
ready.
same one that visited us as we just reached bottom earlier on.
Snap.
That.
All clear?
Jog secure. Backpack secure.
Well, I can't believe how delicate that was.
Yeah.
And I was barely squeezing.
Yeah. Probably could have slurped it up.
Probably could have slurped it up.
Yep.
It might not have stayed
Yeah.
intact any better, though.
All right, so we need to get you over here and spun around.
Yep.
All right.
You can start walking it left, and
Understood.
I'll
Biosample
come
of
your
the
way.
dive.
Yeah. Thank you, pilot.
Thank
Okay,
you.
shall we get the ship going right away?
Yes. So why was that sponge so hard to collect, Joanna?
Because that one specifically, the skeleton does not.
We
is
confirm
not
the
so
fog
dense in
lights are off.
silica, so it
Mhm.
has actually
Stand
a lot
by. Logs are
more
clear.
of this organic mattress,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes
Okay,
it
so
become
30
more
meters,
brittle, of
070
course,
still
and
sounds
more,
good?
It's a
Yeah.
bit softer.
Copy.
Mm-hmm.
But this is
All right,
actually a
Todd.
very good example
I'm
as to
lined up.
why it's so important
Okay.
to get these
Get
samples
in center, and I'll
that
spin
you
right.
can
Yep.
observe with the ROV, because as you can imagine, in previous expeditions done in the region, especially those of Prince Albert of Monaco, they were using deep sea dredges or trawls, so all of this would come up actually very much destroyed.
I was
So
going to
we
say, in
don't
a
have-
jumbled mess.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. So we wouldn't have any idea for the morphology of the sponge in its habitat. So this is actually a very good opportunity for us to try to match
Mm-hmm.
how it looks like with the actual tissue samples that we will be able to examine.
Right.
So finally, we will be able to put a name to this, and since it has been observed quite commonly here in the region now, we will be able to say what it is. And if it is a new species, then we will describe it.
Got it. So now we're just moving over the seafloor. We're slowly climbing uphill. Slowly. But we're getting there. To see a lot of those sponges you were talking about. The
Yeah,
bird's
those-
nest sponges. Is that a fish over to the bottom right?
No, there is a rose belly fish.
Did we get a snap
Isn't
zoom on the
it?
fish?
Standby video.
You got a big one in the background as well.
Okay,
From that here.
can go in on the fish.
Yep. It just happens to come with its own sponge.
It's a black belly rosefish,
Black belly rosefish.
it seems. Lovely colors
Hanging out on a lot
Yeah.
of
of that coral
coral
rubble.
rubble, carbonate rubble in general.
Probably guarding that sponge there.
Really?
No.
Doesn't really have a relationship with the sponge, does it?
I don't think so. Not
No.
this one, no. Wow.
So Ear is just saying it's a boca negra.
So
And if
Boca-
it is,
yes.
I had that for dinner, and I think you did too.
I think we had it once at least in Fayal Island.
Yeah, I think I had it twice.
Cool.
It was delicious.
You
And now
didn't-
see it's running away because
Yeah.
I said
So you
you
just
could
had
have great
that.
dinner.
So yeah, Boca Negra is
Delicious.
in Portuguese, apart from delicious. So in Portuguese means a black mouth. Yeah, and that's Helicolenus dactylopterus. Thanks, Manuela.
I think it's still over there. Moved off.
Which, another
Yeah, just to your starboard.
another
Pushing
fish.
up.
A bigger, different
20
fish.
degrees, 30 degrees, right?
Oh yeah.
Looks like a
Co-pilot, would you want to bring me back to center?
I sure would. Thanks,
It's interesting.
Fernando.
We're seeing these little basaltic rubbles, little mafic rubble, that we hadn't seen before on the seafloor. And another fish is coming up.
Can't quite square up on it. I have this big rock right there.
Yeah, right behind you.
Transverse a little bit to the south. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay, folks.
Ship
So
still moving or
we have
stationary?
reached, we believe,
Or
the-
stopped.
the
Okay.
top of
What do you
the
think, guys? Should we
wall,
put a move into like
that
the
we were hoping to
east-southeast?
climb today. We made some
And
really
then the
good
next
time.
move more to the
So
southeast?
we have a couple different options. We
They're
can
discussing right now what to
sort
do,
of
if to go
turn
straight.
here and
Yeah.
continue
down,
sort of
or
along
up.
the upper
It's always,
edge
you
of
know,
the bridge,
sometimes when you get on a flat, you end up
that
with
we're
some undulations. It'd be
exploring and
nice
just
to
kind
like
of
turn right a
follow
little
along,
sooner than the top, right?
potentially
From
seeking
piloting
out slightly
standpoint.
shallower bathymetry.
Like I'd
Or
rather
we can kinda
slice
continue
along
straight
uphill rather than
forward
like
and
get
go
to the flat and then
towards
do a little.
sort of
Crab it over.
the next
You want to
step
pirouette
towards
around the
So
wall?
you're saying like
flat of
keep
the
going up a
step
little
that
bit?
No, I
we're
mean
currently
start
on as
turning
featured.
Okay.
south of east now
folks
rather
have a
than
preference?
once we know we're at the flat spot.
And if so, we would love to hear it so we can kind of
You'll
discuss
see
it a little
more,
bit more.
and it's
Now, this
easier to drive slightly uphill.
And while doing that, we will take
I think he's
some
maybe
great
looking
shots
at
of
a
this beautiful rock here.
Yeah, I think they're
125 or
deciding right
something like
now what to do.
Okay.
If they want to explore this area, then we'll go straight. Otherwise, I'll just call a southeastern move.
that. Coming up with you. You want me to follow you over with my head or just stay lined up?
So clearly here we have
You can
4 or
explore
5
that
main
if you want.
species dominating this
If we're
basalt
stopped, let's do that.
Yeah, we're stopped.
And then I can always zoom.
rocks.
Yep.
So we
Back.
have this
All right,
Corallium
coming over,
nioba.
keep you in
We
center.
have this glass sponge, which may be Tetrodictium. We have Desmacella grimaldi, so the yellow sponge there. You're coming into view again, one of those sponges that we've seen earlier in greater detail, and this is an Aplosclerid sponge, possibly within the genus Calyx.
I think that drops off right there.
Sure does, huh?
So while the
Is
diversity
that a
is
rock
really
in HT2's
spectacular,
feet?
not
Or
only
is that
diversity,
metal?
but actually density of individuals that
Where?
we see here.
It's just so
Also
angular.
Canthogorgia armata.
I don't see it, but yeah.
Is that, oh, it's a rock.
Oh, gotcha.
Go ahead, survey one. Yeah.
So yesterday we had a dive that we were hoping was going to be dense with biological communities, and it turned out to be a geology dive.
And today we have
And
the
today we
opposite.
have the opposite.
Today is, as I said, today is biology bonanza.
So when you look at a lot of these communities here, you frequently get
A big
people who start throwing around the
rectangular
terms of
rock looks
high
like it's
density
ready
or
to
high
go.
diversity communities. So can you kind of
Smallest
explain
touch.
what that means and why?
The one off to
why
the
would
right.
that be important?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So while
All of
there
these
isn't,
actually
there's this
here.
term that we've been using a lot in the scientific community, which are vulnerable marine ecosystems, and these are typically ecosystems that are formed by both sponges and corals. And these ecosystems are very important because they provide a number of goods and services to the deep sea environment as a whole, and ultimately to us humans. And so these, some of these 3D structures
Go ahead, survey one.
provide both habitat, nursing and rearing
That
areas
is
for
correct.
a number of other species, both crustaceans and even commercial fish species. And so these are very important in terms of the overall ecosystem function in the deep sea. And a lot of these species, especially corals and sponges, are thought to be very slow-growing and long-living, which
That is
really
high
makes them
pack, right,
particularly
Roland.
vulnerable to human impacts, and especially to bottom fisheries, of course. So as I said, fishing in deep sea
you
fishing
look at
in
Orange
the Azores
Puffy,
region is
upper
largely
right.
undertaken by small-scale fishermen
Peach Puffy.
using typically deep long lines, so not using trawls. Trawling is
Coming in
banned
view
in
now?
the region,
Yeah,
and
coming
this
to
might be a
center.
reason why we are
Stand
actually
by.
seeing such a diversity in some of these areas.
Gonna swap
You
out,
can-
let Brian take
You
over.
can just
Okay.
imagine what a trawl,
It actually keeps going
commercial
up. You
trawl
can
would
see
do.
in
You
minis.
traverse a little bit to the south. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay, folks.
Ship
so,
still moving or
we have
stationary?
reached, we believe,
Or
the-
stopped.
the
Okay.
top of
What do you
the
think, guys? Should we
wall,
put a move into like
that
the
we were hoping to
east-southeast?
climb today. We made some
And
really
then the
good
next
time.
move more to the
So
southeast?
we have a couple different options. We
They're
can
discussing right now
Okay.
what to do,
sort
if to go
turn
straight.
here and
Yeah.
continue
down,
sort of
or
along
up.
the upper
It's always,
edge of
you know,
the
sometimes
ridge.
when you get on a flat, you end up
that
with
we're
some undulations. It'd be
exploring
nice
and
to
just
like
kind of
turn right a
follow
little
along,
sooner than the top, right?
potentially
From
seeking
piloting
out slightly
standpoint.
shallower bathymetry.
Like I'd
Or
rather
we can kinda
slice
continue
along
straight
uphill rather than
forward
like
and
get
go
to the flat and then
towards
do a little.
sort of
Crab it over.
the next
You want
step
to pirouette
towards
around the
So
wall?
you're saying like
flat of
keep going
the
up a
step
little
that
bit?
No,
we're
I mean
currently
start
on this
turning
feature.
Okay.
south of east now
Folks
rather
have a
than
preference?
once we know we're at the flat spot.
And if so, we would love to hear it so we can kind of
You'll
discuss
see
it a
more,
little
and it's
Over
easier to drive slightly uphill.
And while doing that, we will take
I think he's
some
maybe
great
looking
shots
at
of
a
this beautiful rock here.
Yeah, I think they're
125 or
deciding right
something
now
like
what to do.
Okay.
If they want to explore this area, then we'll go straight. Otherwise, I'll just call a southeastern move.
that. Coming up with you. You want me to follow you over with my head or just stay lined up?
So clearly here we have
You can
4 or
explore
5
that
main
if you want.
species dominating this
If we're
basalt
stopped, let's do that.
Yeah, we're stopped.
And then I can always do.
rocks.
Yep.
So we
Back.
have this
All right,
Corallium
coming over,
nioba,
keep you in
we
center.
have this glass sponge which may be Tetrodictium. We have Desmacella grimaldi, so the yellow sponge there. You're coming into view again, one of those sponges that we've seen earlier in greater detail, and this is an aplosclerid sponge, possibly within the genus Calyx.
I think that drops off right there.
Sure does, huh?
So while the
Is
diversity
that a
is
rock
really
in HT2's
spectacular,
feet?
not
Or
only
is that
diversity,
metal?
but actually density of individuals that
Where?
we see here.
It's just so
Also
angular.
Acanthogorgia armata.
I don't see it, but yeah.
Is that, oh, it's a rock.
Oh, gotcha.
Go ahead, survey one. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yesterday we had a dive that we were hoping was going to be dense with biological communities, and it turned out to be a geology dive.
And today we have
And
the opposite.
today we have the opposite.
Today is, as I said, today is biology bonanza.
So when you look at a lot of these communities here, you frequently get
A big
people
Rick-
start throwing around the
rectangular
terms
rock looks like it's ready to
high
go.
diversity communities. So can you kind of
Smallest
explain
touch.
what that means and why?
The one off to
why
the
would
right.
that be important?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while
All of
there
these
isn't,
actually
there's this
here.
term that we've been using a lot in the scientific community, which are vulnerable marine ecosystems, and these are typically ecosystems that are formed by both sponges and corals. And these ecosystems are very important because they provide a number of goods and services to the deep sea environment as a whole, and ultimately to us humans. And so these, some of these 3D structures
Go ahead, survey one.
provide both habitat, nursing and rearing
That
areas
is
for
correct.
a number of other species, both crustaceans and even commercial fish species. And so these are very important in terms of the overall ecosystem function in the deep sea. And a lot of these species, especially corals and sponges, are thought to be very slow-growing and long-living, which
That is
really
high
makes them
pack, right,
particularly
Roland.
vulnerable to human impacts, and especially to bottom fisheries, of course. So as I said, you know, fishing in deep sea
you
fishing
look at
in
orange
the Azores
puffy,
region is
upper
largely
right.
undertaken by small-scale
Sort
fishermen
of peach puffy.
using typically deep long lines, so not using trawls. Trawling is
Coming in
banned
view
in
now?
the region,
Yeah,
and
coming
this
to
might be a
center.
reason why we are
Stand
actually
by.
seeing such a diversity in some of these areas.
Gonna swap
You
out,
can-
let Brian take
You
over.
can just
Okay.
imagine what a trawl,
It actually keeps going
commercial
up. You
trawl
can
would
see
do in
minis.
So we had a
Like I'm
request from our
tugging on you
shoreside
here.
team to put
just
the
gonna sit
lasers
here.
on, and they are actually on right now. We are just pretty far off
Yeah, I
while
think
we
we can get
are
the ship
off the
moving, right?
seafloor
Yeah,
for a
we're gonna
moment
have to,
while our
'cause I can't
pilots
go
are
anywhere.
shifting.
Yeah, you could come back down a little bit. Otherwise,
So
yeah,
when we
we'll
get
have
back
to wait.
closer, we
Yep.
should start seeing them easily again. So a lot of folks ask us how far apart our little lasers are on the seafloor, and they're 10 centimeters, and we use them to tell us how big some of the things we're looking at. So this is really helpful when we're
Alright,
trying to
Amanda,
figure
are we-
out
are we on the
how
move?
big an
You're going to be
animal
no,
is or
not
how
yet.
big
You're
a rock
going to be
is.
waiting a few minutes. You might as well
Particularly
just come down
yesterday
and
when we were trying to
acquire.
determine if
Yep,
a rock was
understood.
too big
All
or
right,
too
so
collect.
centimeters
collect.
100. We're good.
Yeah.
Deb,
But
who's our
mostly east.
geologist on board, kept
Coming
telling
up.
us that she wanted all the rocks. Unfortunately, D2 does not have infinite rock boxes.
Yeah, and those lasers also help us to estimate densities along a transect, and
Yeah.
that's very important as well.
So when you looked at some of those big rocks that we just saw a few minutes ago, how many sponges would you guess were on some of those things?
That's really difficult to say, but some of them, I think thousands, very many thousands of sponges.
That's pretty cool.
So as I was telling Deb, I wouldn't want to be the person having to video annotate all of this.
So at NOAA Ocean Exploration, we partner with a group at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette to do all of our annotations. So we use a tool called SeaTube, and it's a crowdsourced, or I guess a cloud-based crowdsourced annotation tool. So our scientists, while they are talking to us live on shore, they can also be annotating. And then after an expedition, our annotations go through a QA/QC process, and then within a couple months or so after a cruise, those annotations are publicly available to anyone who wants to use them. So if people are interested in doing some diversity analysis or metrics analysis of the areas that we've been, they're a great tool for people to use.
And SeaTube has really a lot of capabilities, which is it's really a really good video annotation platform.
It does. It's really cool, and it's pretty neat that you can actually, it's highly customizable,
Yeah.
which is pretty awesome. And that's developed by Ocean Network Canada, and we've worked with them since 2017 to get that platform
bit
kind
more
of in a
tether
way
next
that we
time.
can start using it for
Yeah, I
these
think you have room to
telepresence-enabled
sidle
operations.
along.
Yeah, and the fact that you can have multiple people annotating at the same time from anywhere in the world is quite
So-
exceptional.
So helpful.
Because then you can also have things quality controlled by taxonomies. So taxonomies saying,
Exactly.
well, that's a different species, or adding on their knowledge and expertise.
That is exactly it. Have you gotten zooms yet on these white corals? Earlier?
We did earlier on, yes.
Okay.
I think those are Hemicorallium niobba.
Oh, okay.
So it seems that these two Hemicorallium species, not sure if they are sister species or not, are the dominant coral species in the area. And that's quite interesting, because we're no longer seeing those dense layers of coral rubble here. So I do wonder if those were different species that either lived here at the top of this structure earlier on, or if they were actually living where we found them at the base, and why would they have died out like that? Maybe changes in
Can we snap from that
environmental
sea urchin
conditions
fry
over
if you
time.
want?
Some of them looked really like subfossilized, so they must have been there for many tens
Yeah,
of
just
thousands of
creeping in.
years, possibly hundreds of thousands of years, we don't know.
And Hemicorallium are one of the corals that grow very slowly, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't actually have here now estimates of the growth of these species,
Understood.
but yes, both some corals
Okay,
and
I'm definitely
sponges,
feeling the move.
can grow very slowly, just a fraction of millimeter a year. So you can imagine some of these species will be hundreds of years old. Here again, our Sidroid urchin, Sidaris here. They seem to be, an important component here of the community as well.
Stand by one.
And we saw lots of these, what we think were these species spines mixed with the coral rubble earlier on this dive.
That toad went away there. Sorry, we bit off a little more than we could chew here.
tuck it in. It's a little bouncy.
It's quite springy, yeah.
It's a good thing we won't be opening that up again once we close that box.
All right, stay put.
That looks
It's a bit like the sponge, the euplectellid sponge yesterday that was sticking into
Let me give it another poke.
to the jaw.
Really see if I can stick it down in there. All right, I think we got it.
Great.
All right,
thank
go
you.
for it, Professor.
Great.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Mark.
Thank you,
Thanks.
pilots.
No problem.
flowing you over.
All right, just so you
That's
know,
right.
we only
Thanks.
have one more bio box open, Joanna.
But we still have some slurp
That's true. You do have a
containers,
lot
right?
of slurp
Okay.
containers. Oh, that's
Okay.
true. She's like, oh, great. We got
Okay.
6 more samples to go. Thank you so much, pilots. That's a fantastic sample.
No problem.
Great collection. Thank you.
All right, pilot off stick.
Valve pack's off, ramping down hydraulics, HVU's off. Camera's coming back. The point mini-suit's back up. And then I rotated starboard to center you up.
Roger that.
So we need to rotate back to port.
Coming back. I'm gonna back up and probably come down a little bit.
You could stay at that height if you want.
Yeah.
We can just keep moving forward.
Okay.
It looks like we're getting pretty
Oh,
close.
sorry, I
to
did
the
rotate
ridge, guys.
starboard.
Rotate starboard.
I said port. I meant starboard.
Looks like we're getting pretty close to a ridge up there.
Yeah, that might be. I'm
if you
just
look
thinking
in
that
the
might be
rail
the top of
cams.
it.
Yeah.
If you see up there. Wow, look at that
Oh, look at
sticking
that.
off there.
We maybe found the top of the ridge finally.
And again, one of these very large Aleclona sponges.
I'm gonna make my way towards
Aleclona
that.
magna.
Yeah,
They're
do you want to
pretty
put
big, actually,
10 meters?
Yeah.
in this area.
That's like 6-0.
6-0.
ahead.
And
That works.
relatively common, so that's very surprising.
Sounds good.
Okay, so
There are not so
060.
many records, actually, of this
Yes,
species throughout the Northeast Atlantic, so this is a great finding.
Excellent. And the video
Bridge
that we
nav.
got of
Yeah.
the other ones that we didn't collect will probably still be
Yeah,
enough for
I have
you
another
to
move for you.
hopefully make some
10 meters.
concrete
I feel like there might be a
identification.
little current pushing up over the
Speed
top of the
0.2
ridge.
knots.
Yeah, because the tether was here. We came up, and now it's over here. So yeah.
Roger that. Thank you.
All right, video. I'm gonna come in and do a little pirouette on this while we're waiting for the ship to move.
Mhm.
Is the tether okay for me to turn a
Mhm.
little to the starboard here, Sean?
Yeah, you look
Okay,
good.
copy that.
Mhm.
Just want to get eyes on it, and then I'm gonna rotate around it.
Yep.
These rocks look interesting because at the top
Whatever-
of this,
whatever you
it's
think,
sort of
the
like it's
best-
layered.
Yeah, let's try whatever you like. I'll defer to your expertise,
I wonder what that is.
and I'll slowly start to pirouette to the right.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
you
on
can
mute.
just truck some circles around that.
I wonder
So
if
is this the same sponge or a different sponge?
No, this is the same sponge that
Okay.
we've seen earlier. But what I'm
What is
wondering
that line?
that line, I wonder if that's actually a
You're
fish.
drifting back. You guys.
Yeah,
Doesn't
copy,
it
thanks.
doesn't really look like a coral.
You think it's a
Feel the
fishing
current
line?
pushing me
Yeah,
up.
there's some corals are these whip corals that this
Yeah,
doesn't
that
look
doesn't
like
look like a
it.
whip
Yeah,
coral.
no, this looks. Is it?
But this is very interesting. This looks very layered.
Yeah,
I
let's go
wonder
and take
if
a look
this
at
is
the line.
volcaniclastics. And you can see that there's layered areas, and you can even see where they. Oh, what are those? That
Oh,
they are
looks like
sort of
fishing line.
eroded in different
it might
ways.
be
Yeah,
a
this
fishing
is
line, looks like
definitely a
rope.
fishing
Oh,
line.
yeah, that's a fishing line.
rope. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yes.
So we do stay away from fishing gear. It's
Guys.
unhealthy
Roger
for
that.
the ROV.
Yeah.
I'm pushing a little more towards
And
it,
there on
fighting
the
a
back,
little
those
current from
purply
below.
Looks like that line
mushroom
goes
corals
up
you
and
see.
over.
There's
Yeah, it does.
Anthomastus they seen.
I'll try to keep an eye
We've
on
seen
it.
some pretty bright red ones earlier on, but I don't think we had seen these purple ones yet. I wonder if they're probably a different species.
Yeah, I've got a
So
lot
a
of
question-
Z-bias on, and
I'm still
it's still
stuck on
going
looking
up.
at the layering in these right at the top of this, which we really hadn't
see
seen
the
before, at least not
particle.
in situ.
Oh,
So
yeah.
was this what you were
Push it
expecting to
up.
find here? That
Not really,
But I
but
think I can
I
still
actually
work
wasn't
around
really
it.
sure what to expect.
hard to do when I'm zoomed
didn't
in, I
expect
think.
this, but I
Yeah.
had, I think, 2,200 meters of water yesterday when we started. And this one we started at not even 800 meters, maybe around 800 meters.
Gonna
I
clear
can't
the
remember
fogs, Brian,
at
if
the
you're
moment.
good.
160
But so it's a
meters,
big
yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
It takes a lot longer to get to the seafloor when the deeper we dive. And so you'll see this as you follow along with our dives in the future. When we do the very deep dives, we spend so much time, on ascending and descending that we unfortunately have less bottom time than we would for these much shallower dives.
So Todd, did you
And
copy that?
yesterday we also started
About
a little
them
later.
wanting to
We
go
did.
to like
Than we
this
did
local
today.
high. I don't know how high it's gonna be.
Okay.
But do you wanna get down?
Is the ship still moving to the
Uh,
southeast?
They are still doing the heading change.
Okay.
So still have about 30 degrees to go. But then when they're done, do you just want to like go straight towards this local high, or just go around here and go from here north, or?
Whatever. The local uphill is basically northeast.
Okay, so just straight up to there?
Yeah, we've got an hour and 15 minutes,
Yeah.
so
We're gonna end up probably like going around here, because there's
Okay.
a lot of time anyway.
Okay.
From here to there,
so what are we looking at?
it's only 50
060?
to 60 meters.
I can head up on that if you want, if that's where we're going.
Let's wait for it to settle out and for them to start moving again.
Understood. I'm looking at you at 2.5. That's probably most of what you have tether-wise.
I'm going to come back to you.
And I'll just remind our scientists on shore that tomorrow is a mid-water dive, which means we get to spend the day looking at beautiful gelatinous creatures in the midwater. Very, very different than the dives we've done so far, that dives we'll do in the future. And our dive planning call will be right after we begin our ascent generally. But check the email that you were sent, and please feel free to join us so that we can get your input on the midwater dive.
So you're again one of our large barrel sponges.
This
Lecona
Oh.
magna looks a little
Very
bit
cool.
different, yeah.
Okay, they finished the heading change. You said the local slope seems to be 050.
Mm,
60.
maybe 60.
Okay, can
there
call
seems to
20
be-
meters 060.
Less living organisms
Sounds good.
now that we're up on
Yeah.
top.
which
Yeah,
is interesting
indeed.
and weird.
Bridge doesn't have.
We are seeing
This
those
is-
yellow encrusting sponges, though.
Still, yeah. And we see some of these plate sponges, these Desmacella grimaldi that we've seen earlier on along the crest edge as well. There's some Anthomastos, soft corals. But yeah, I guess these areas that have higher sedimentation and more unconsolidated sediment are a bit more unfavorable for the colonization by these sessile organisms, both corals and sponges.
And these rocks are incredibly weathered.
And again, our expectations of finding some of those scleractinian corals that were forming all of those,
Yep.
all of that rubble at the
Mhm.
beginning of our dive, are not. We're not finding them here.
She's not on anymore. Yeah, this is very, very weathered looking and doesn't have a whole lot of biodiversity. Ooh, what's off to the right? She says, and then there's a large block that has lots of stuff on it.